to it on the line. He's a head coach in the NFL for 22 years. He's currently the head coach and general manager of the Michigan Panthers of the USFL, Jeff Fisher. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. How you guys doing today?
We're doing well. All right, here's my question. Noise. And there's two types, I always think. The noise during the game and then the noise during the week in the media and with the fans. As a head coach, do you know what is being said about your team by the media and the fans? And do you think you need to have your finger on the pulse as a coach of what the fans are thinking?
Well, times certainly are changed now. There's so much more information available. There was a time when, as head coaches of a franchise, you wanted to make sure if there was any news that your local guys got it before the national guys got it, because they were the ones putting all the time in. And so things are changed now, but you want to stay as informed as you possibly can about everything. So that then requires a real good media relations director that can just kind of brief you and so on and so forth. And you get clips and things in that along those lines. But bottom line is, no. You just don't. You don't have time. You really don't have time to, unless you're game planning or doing something with your door shut in your office, to have anything on other than football. And so you're just not, and then late in the day, you might get out, and watch the Monday night game or something while you're working, but there's just not time. But you need the information. It is important. As we all know, the more noise that's out there, the harder things become on players, the harder things become on the staff and job security and so and so. But it is important to keep those decision makers informed at all times. And there's a lot more. I will tell you this: there's a lot more going on inside the building than you could ever imagine. And that's the way it should always be, and I think it will remain.
Jeff, you've coached on the biggest stage in the Super Bowl. You got a whole lot of wins in the NFL. And I've told my partner and the fans that, hey, Kyle Shanahan is a genius when it comes to play design. And you know what I can't let go, Jeff, is the 10-point lead in the Super Bowl, the 10-point lead last year in the NFC Championship game. And I used to go to bed like, oh, it's nothing, no biggie. But he goes away from what got him there. Like, he doesn't have that kill shot. Can you speak to the art of coaching? Do I just sound like a guy barking, or is there something to that where some coaches, when it gets the tough gets going, they don't meet that challenge?
Well, I'm sympathetic to your feelings and your emotions, but I would submit that they were not alive and boiling in that moment. It was a Monday quarterback thing. When you went back and looked at it and went back and reflected, because what you don't have is you don't have the information available to you that he has as he's calling plays. And it can be a myriad of things. It can be player injury, a matchup, a this, a that, one guy down, another guy over here, and a bad matchup on the defensive end, and you got to protect. And so, you got to, whatever it is, there's just so much going on to play calling. Now, I will say this about Kyle. You're going to have to look long and hard to find a better play caller consistently. You've seen some messes. You saw some stuff, and unfortunately, when a new head coach comes in and he comes from a coordinator background, it is extremely difficult to manage games at the end, into half, into game, and be a play caller.
Jeff Fisher.
What's going on in Denver right now. Guys are talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, and that happens all over the place. There's only a few out there that can really, really do it, and not, even you can go through a course, a 16-game season, and just botch 1 2-minute drive and cost you a game. Yeah. And so that's in itself is difficult to do when you're calling plays and watching the clock and trying to tell the defense, hey, you guys are going to go back on the field with 30 seconds left. Ball's going to be probably at midfield, and you're going to have to send 3 Hail Marys with 4 minutes left, because a good head coach will do that. He'll prepare his guys. So, but I get back to Kyle. You're not going to find a better play caller. I love the stuff that Dayball did. He's new. We know what he's done, and Sean and everybody. But when it comes to the run game and attacking defenses and the precision in which he does so within his philosophy, which is outside. I mean, he learned from the best, and y'all know that. And I was with his dad there in San Francisco for a couple of years under George Schieffer. George's second year, I think. So Mike knows, Kyle knows, he's great, absolutely outstanding at attacking defenses, and he knows the importance of details. Let's go to the Green Bay game, which I think you referenced to. How'd they win that game in Green Bay last year? They blocked a kick.
Yep.
They blocked a punt. How are you going to beat Aaron Rodgers? You got to do that stuff.
Right.
And so, look at the big picture. Just don't get frustrated. You got quarterback injuries. You got a young quarterback to bring along. You got new guys at new positions. And what's out of his control. And he probably never say this because coaches have to adjust as the rules change. But those first 2 weeks, and now week 3. I mean, they just were all over the map, and that's because of. You say 3 preseason games? No, it's 2. And some of these guys don't even play in the preseason. And so there's a warm-up time. And so things will settle down here in the next couple of weeks. People realize what they got and, where their strengths and weaknesses are and settle into things. And then as soon as you do that, you get somebody hurt, and then you can start over. So, anyway, did I use up all of our time?
No. No, it's great stuff,
Yeah.
Jeff. Jeff Fisher joining us on 95.7 The Game. Head NFL coach for 22 years. He was in Houston, Tennessee, St. Louis, and L.A. Let me ask you this, Jeff. 49ers went to the NFC Championship with Garoppolo last year. Somewhere along the line, they decided to make a quarterback switch to Trey Lance right before training camp. They said, you know what? Let's bring Jimmy Garoppolo back as a backup. What was your first thought when you saw that the 49ers were doing that? Because it was a little surprising.
Well, I thought it was brilliant for them to pull it off.
Really?
I mean, what better guy could you have as a backup than your starter? When we know quarterbacks are going to go down and young quarterbacks are going to struggle. Okay? So who's gonna bail you out when that happens? You better have a backup, and what better guy? Now, I mean, I think you look too hard at Jimmy's, a bad game here or there, a bad decision here, or what he does well or what he doesn't do well. The fact of the matter is he got him some pretty cool places, and so he must be pretty good. So to think that you have a backup quarterback that's committed and bought into, at least for this year, stepping in and going, yeah, that gives you a chance. So I don't know specifically what Lance's injury situation is, but, hey, every head coach is going to want to, even though Jimmy was pretty much was Kyle's guy, you want to do the research, you want to do everything, you want to go out and get the guy that fits where you want to be in 2 or 3 years. It's not the guy who wants to fit now. It's 2 or 3 years. Okay, he's got a guy with legs. He's got a guy with mobility. That's where it's going. That's where his dad believes in that. It's an extra man on offense, by the way. When you got a quarterback that can run around from a defensive perspective, it's a headache. And so, and not that Jimmy can, but I think it's a great situation. I mean, has that happened before? You put a starter down and he's your backup, and now you go with a new guy, and then all of a sudden, bang, your starter's back on the field. It's good for your locker room. It's good for everything.
Coach, let me ask you this, because I know you coached the late great.
No, I don't mean to interrupt you, but what other options were there? Who's out there right now that you would be happy about starting for the 49ers?
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah, they would have had to go with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, you're right, Coach.
Okay. Who's their 3 now, and he's the last player drafted.
And he may be a good player.
Right.
But that's a good deal there.
Coach, to that point, let me ask you this, though, because you played. Do you think Jimmy's feeling some type of way that they chose, a guy from North Dakota State that was unknown, and Jimmy had the skins on the wall of 2 NFC championship games, a Super Bowl, and then you bring him back. I'm telling my partner and the fans, we're taking calls, Coach, to where I'm like, how would you feel and have handled that?
Let me put it to you this way, okay? If Jimmy does feel the way you just described, and that's a personality and a character trait, there's no way with those traits he would ever got to where he is now. So the answer's no. I mean, I don't mean to say it, but the lower your give a shit factor, excuse my language, at some positions in the NFL on the field on Sunday,
right,
the better you're going to play. And so you need some of that, and because Jimmy knows he's confident. He knows he'd go play for somebody else and do well. And Jimmy's not the one sitting there saying, and I'm not saying this is the case, but there are quarterbacks that have come through this league that have bought into and come in the league and left the league and died by that square peg in a round hole theory where I never got the right chance because they didn't know how to use me right.
Wow.
The bottom line is Jimmy's productive in that offense. Though he doesn't do everything right, and they have to probably change some things, but Kyle knows what he can do. And Jimmy knows what he can do. That's a good deal right there. So, and you don't know about these guys could be, they could be drinking, Merlot at night after meetings in the office, game planning together. You don't know that, but I think it's a great situation. And you guys didn't call me to calm you guys down, but relax. It's still early.
That's good stuff, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
We'll talk anytime. You guys take care.
All right, that's Jeff Fisher, 22 years ahead of NFL
ball
coach.
coach. Wow.